Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Descry Gaming. I'm Descry. I'm here to talk about the truth about hero tier lists. Now, I think this needs to be finally addressed because the game's getting more popular. There's more content creators out there, and obviously, tier lists are the most popular thing out there. They get the most views, the most subscribers, and the most debate about the game. And really want to talk about the iceberg underneath the water, and the reality and the truth about hero tier lists in particularly. And it might be a little controversial, what I am gonna say, but if you come to my channel, you sort of get the raw reality of my viewpoints, and I don't sugarcoat anything. But I put a little presentation together. I am going to kind of go through it. It's not like crazy like villain theory presentation, but it's a little presentation I just threw together real quick just to get my main points across and to kind of talk about what I'm talking about, to show you guys what I'm talking about. So we're gonna start that presentation up in a second here. I just need to load it up. And yeah, I think this is a very interesting topic. Again, this is going to be a live presentation. People in the chat that are joining, feel free to ask me questions, challenge me, or add more to the table to this conversation. But in retrospect, we're going to be kind of talking about hero tier lists and the reality and the truth about them. And I think many content creators are getting wrong, and sort of people in the community. And I'm going to talk about that. So I guess we'll kind of jump into the presentation here. Let's do that. All right, so the truth about hero tier lists. Okay, so many content creators, here's an example of some of the content creators out there that put these power tier lists into effect. And yes, they look very similar, but I think if you've paid attention to my channel, you will know that I've always said there is no such thing as a bad hero. And I still stand behind that, because when it boils down to, if you understand the game and you know how to deck build, you know how to pilot, and you know how to read the encounter deck, whether there's two advances now discarded, or if you're playing in harder difficulties, or if you know the modulars, like there could be 3 activations more that you're playing against Ronin. So if you do all these things, such as the things that I mentioned, that gives you a better chance with whatever hero you're playing with. And now you could say, well, that just means, if you use a more powerful hero, you're going to be winning even more. I mean, the thing that I'm stressing here is that on paper, each hero has strengths and weaknesses. Even Doctor Strange has some weaknesses, okay? He doesn't have all the answers. Yes, his invocation deck can get him a lot of utility and a lot of things, and that's why he's up there in these so-called tier power list rankings. But Marvel Champions, especially when you tune the difficulty and where we're at in the game, is getting a lot more advanced. The scenarios are not just all cookie cutter scenarios. I believe, and I want to stress also, that I believe at its core, this game is a multiplayer type game, or at least the way the balance and the tools and the cards and everything that we're given in this game, it just works a lot better in a player counted game. Many heroes don't work very well playing solo. Not that you can't win in solo with these heroes, but Rogue cannot get Stalwart when she plays solo. There's, synergies with other heroes and other team aspects, again, that really, you know, increases the way you play and the advantage to the player. And when you mix and match different aspects and archetypes, you can do really cool and strong combos and powerful things in the game. Uh, so I mean, I think like there is a little disconnect here, which with these tier lists, they either don't specify it's a solo power tier list or no, it's just a power tier list. Um, there's a lot of confusion, but I don't think that's a real iceberg. The iceberg is what I've always said is that there's no bad hero in the game. I don't think we need a D tier. I don't think we need a C tier. What I think what we need is specification, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But these are just some content creators up. I think I'm blocking D20. He's at the bottom left, but I'm blocking him with my camera. Yeah, you got Nelson, Villain Theory, Marvel XP, and D20 just as examples. But I think like the truth of power tier lists is it's very subjective, if that's the correct word to use. Objective is direct information without needing any outsourcing information. And I think, that's why they vary so much. But going back to what I was saying is that Marvel Champions is a great game. It's fun to play. Tier lists are literally the clickiest clickbait you can get in this content spectrum. But the reality is, I think we've got it all wrong. I think these rankings are very deceiving because the way you play Marvel Champions and the different type of strategies go for doesn't reflect these D and C tiers. And I just think it's misleading. And again, I don't think every content creator has played the crap out of every single hero on these tier lists. So again, you're doing a tier list and you're throwing this hero there, that hero here. I mean, so I question a lot of things, but the real answer is that Valkyrie, Hulk, Hawkeye, some of these like really low tier listed heroes, they excel in certain specifications, certain ways you play, certain ways you build. Hawkeye is an excellent status control hero, and I think that is, if you're a little lost, what I'm trying to get at is that we need to stop talking about A's and D's and C's and tier list power. We need to start talking about specification, tank, damage dealer, support hero, control hero, status control. I think that's where the way you play this game in multiplayer, you're working as a team, and certain heroes do things better. And way you deck build and do your deck building can reflect that play style and how, whether you're a defender type doing a lot of defense events, protecting your team, and you have good defense, you have high HP. These are things that this tier list doesn't really reflect. These tier lists that you see from these big content creators are basically, they kind of boil down to like, oh, this hero has good thwart, so it's going to go up a little bit. And yeah, they have powerful events, blah, 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 blah. But I think the game is a lot more complex or a lot more in depth than just that. I don't think that is the correct power tier list to put up. And I know a lot of these tier lists is kind of focus on solo, which again, I think is, we don't want to be going in this game solo. I really believe this game, if you can play either two-handed or play with friends or people, this game is way more enjoyable. The strategies and things you can do in this game open up a lot more. But again, I'll say it again, if you enjoy solo play, that's cool. And if I were to say there could be a tier list, maybe you could, a solo tier list, because I think solo just connects you with the ability to synergize and do other things with other people and other decks. You're just stuck by yourself with one hero. You need to be pretty much a jack of all trades. That could make a better tier list, but even that, when you play solo, you could do a rush down type of strategy. You could do control strategy. So, you rank Hulk at very last, but yet if you do a rush down strategy in solo, he can defeat villains in 2 or 3 rounds. So does that deserve to be a last place hero? Like if I can beat through a campaign in less than 30 minutes with Hulk, he's last place. And so again, there's a lot of things that just don't add up, don't make sense. And a lot of times I think a lot of these like tier lists are based on like emotions and why they like certain people, or that the community have sort of deemed like Doctor Strange, like we worship you, Doctor Strange, and that's why he's always first place. But so what I'm saying is they're all wrong. Wrong. I think we're going in the wrong direction with these tier lists. I don't think they're, I think if you really want to get to that next level with Marvel Champions, you need to have a different mindset with this game. And this is regarding the power tier list. Hey, Adam. Hulk for the win. Yeah. So that's basically, and these are just examples. So when I said specification, what am I talking about? Tier list should be through specification. And this makes sense. And this is more objective. I think these tier lists, most of these tier lists are all subjective in a sense. And that's why I believe in this. So when you start breaking down a tier list now in this game for best tier list tank / defender, best tier list damage dealer, best tier list support, best tier list utility, best tier list minion control, best tier list scheme control, status control, okay? It makes a lot more logical sense. It's actually objective more because you've kind of defined a certain specification. So, and let me give you an example. The game has many different aspects, right? You're doing damage, you're thwarting, you're defeating minions, you're doing all these things in the game. So when you do these tier lists, it's a very broad thing, and when you break it up in this way, it also makes sense for the actual hero, because like if we talk about the easy one I kind of bring up, it's like, let's use Hulk, right? Everyone's tier list, Hulk is dead last. If we do a tier list on best defender or tank, you can make a good argument based on his high HP ceiling, his ability just to stay in hero for a long time and defend for other people. Because you could defend for someone else and just take an undefended attack. You have so much HP. So, you could throw him up there in that high tank / defender list. Damage dealer, but look at damage dealers. So there could be another tier list for late game best heroes, right? You look at Cable, Iron Man. But these are just examples. But I think then the tier list looks more realistic, or looks more, then, certain heroes like Hawkeye for status control. Like, it gives these other heroes what they should be. And the truth is, they are better. Like, when you play a hero in a specified manner, especially multiplayer, they start doing great. And I think that's the problem with these tier lists, is they don't reflect what I'm talking about. When you're teamed up in a team game, two-handed, 3 or 4 player game, when you're using Storm and Cyclops for support, or Cable as a support player size scheme hero, these are things that change the power level. And when you're giving Cable like a C tier, and it just doesn't make any sense, because these groupings will give you an actual power threshold to measure. When you beat harder difficulties or beat harder villains, these are things that you would check on the the checkbox, minion control, scheme control, status control, damage dealer, do we, tank, survivability, utility. These are all things that when you have many of these check marked box, you're going to succeed in the game. So what I plan to do is come up with, my tier list that I'm going to do that's catered towards specification. And I don't really want, I think for me, it was a trap to get into a tier list power ranking for heroes. I did do a tier list power ranking for difficulty. And I think that's more unique, like Standard 2, Expert 2. But I've never really did just a tier list just for the general play. But yeah, so that's my main point. This is a quick live stream to throw this out there, to create a discussion. Do you feel the same way that I feel? Or are you 100%, if we go back to these tier lists, are you 100% on board with these tier lists? Do you think they make logical sense? I mean, I played Marvel Champions quite a bit, and I feel like these tier lists are sort of a trap, because they will also put the seed in a player's mindset that, oh, if I play, this D tier hero or this C tier hero, I'm not going to win this scenario. When in reality, just like I talk about, is there's building your deck, using the best to their abilities, understanding the scenario or what the villain can do, and understanding the counter deck, and different ways you can go about playing Marvel Champions. So I really don't think these many power tier lists out there are good. I think they just illustrate to me, I think there's some content creators that don't even do tier lists, like Steve from Play the Game, and I think he gets it, because for him, for any decent player, they can win with any hero. It's understanding the game, understanding the mechanics of the game and everything. There's some chats here. I think the tier lists are good for casual MC players. It's a starting point to work off. Yeah, but even that's the thing though. The casuals go to these tier lists and they start believing this is Bible. They believe, why the heck does Villain Theory have Black Widow and C? These are mind-boggling for me. But yeah, I guess you could say, yes, it gives players a general idea of which heroes are have more advantage, and with little to no skill level, they will have an easier time with them. Yes, but I guess that's why I'm illustrating is the more your skill level improves in Marvel Champions, the easier it is to make Thor or Hawkeye or whoever do so well in the game. And then I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you think that I'm out to lunch with everything I'm saying, I do the Let's Plays. I do some of the harder villains and difficulties, and I play many of the lower tier heroes. And we do very well on my channel, on my Let's Plays. So all I can say is that, factually, yes, I can back it up a little bit. But Mark says, on more than one occasion, I've seen Party Thor deck dominate in multiplayer games, and he's always rated low on most tier lists. I agree with digging deeper when rating heroes. Yeah, I also think tier lists are biased on the character-specific card kit. Yeah, so I mean, again, this is not going to be a long stream. This is a quick video, but it's to get my point across that the real iceberg, I think, is that we're missing the boat. We're missing the boat that there's no such thing as a bad hero in this game. Each hero has some great strengths and weaknesses and synergies to do within player groups, and they all come together to make, a wonderful thing. And what these tier lists tend to do is just kind of crap on all these heroes, because let's put it, when you're H or D or C or whatever or F, You're basically saying the hero is crap, or just not. I know Nelson tries to like, oh, all these heroes are fantastic or they're good, but honestly, that's the problem. When you do a tier list like this, you are pretty much saying that the hero is crap. But what else are you guys saying? I also think, yeah. Um, but here's the thing: tier lists are super popular. Tier lists get the most clicks and the most people going subscribing to channels. And I also think it's a trap. I think that you then have this mindset that you can't win with Hulk or Valkyrie. Why is Drax in D with Villain Theory? Like, there's just so many weirdness in these tier lists that I'm looking at. I didn't even look at these very closely, but anyways, I think I'm all talked out. Unless you guys have any more questions, but this is my tier list. State of the Union, Iceberg, Describe going back to specification. That is what I believe tier list should be about. It'd be nice to see if content creators choose to go down that route instead of just doing these power ranking tier lists, which I think are misleading. And I think it makes more sense if you do a power tier list for specification, then I think you're in the right boat basically. And then you can talk about every hero and go what they're really good at. So anyways, this was the truth about hero tier lists. Describe says watch out for them. Don't have nightmares. But yeah, going forward in my channel, that's what if I do tier lists, it's always going to be more about deep diving specific strategies, specification. It's not going to be this like weird subjective tier list power ranking where a lot of times it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I guess like I said, for solo, maybe it makes more sense. But again, I think in reality, I think this game is meant to be based on multiplayer, based on player counted game. I think it's balanced for that. So I'm going to end it there, guys. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.